Hey guys, Kat here, and I just got back from my birthday trip to Boston with my three sisters, and the trip fulfilled all of my birthday wishes, including staying in a beautifully feminine Victorian Airbnb in a historic Boston neighborhood, visiting the stunning Venetian Gothic Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, having a low-key spa night with my three beloved sisters, spending quality time and laughing together with them, visiting the largest mosque in New England, the Islamic Society of Boston, spending an entire Saturday at the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, strolling through the Arnold Arboretum of Harvard University at dusk, reconnecting with my lifelong mentor, Monique, for birthday cake, and making my birthday wish surrounded by four of my favorite women. Spending a Sunday afternoon enveloped in the autumn beauty of Boston Commons' array of vibrantly diverse trees, and tea tasting at a historic Boston landmark. We hope you enjoy this video and that it shines some light on some really, really great gems worth visiting on your next trip to Boston. My little sister and roommate Taylor and I started our journey from Baltimore City to the Baltimore airport on a bus to downtown Baltimore's Penn Station. Unfortunately, upon our arrival to Penn Station, we realized that our train had been canceled. So we quickly jumped into an Uber to be driven to the Baltimore airport. Once we arrived, we were relieved to see that our flight to Boston was on time. And after a short 1-hour flight, we arrived in Boston. Then Taylor and I headed over to the nearest train station to head to downtown Boston for lunch. This is Taylor's happy dance, knowing that a delicious meal is only a few minutes away. And we arrived at the tracks just in time to jump on the train to downtown. Once we arrived downtown, it was a quick walk to our lunch destination, where my big sister and baby sister were awaiting our arrival. We met up at Milk Street Café, a casual, health-conscious kosher spot with options for varied, restricted diets. I got a veggie roll, and Taylor chose a hearty green salad. After lunch, the four of us walked the vibrant streets of Boston, admiring the skyline's mixture of modern high-rises with shiny glass facades, updated low-rise historic buildings, and charming cobblestone streets. We even stopped by an adorable bookstore called the Brattle Bookshop, which utilized an empty alleyway for their overflow of interesting books. As our Airbnb check-in time of 3 p.m. approached, we jumped into an Uber and headed over to the Boston neighborhood where we were staying for the weekend, which is called Roxbury. For over 250 years, Roxbury has been an essential ingredient in the story of Boston as a pioneering and world-class city. It was Roxbury that emerged as a protective barrier to fend off the British, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. ministered the 12th Baptist Church, and where Malcolm X lived with his sister during formative years. Once we arrived at our Airbnb in Roxbury's Fort Hill, we were in awe of its historic and natural beauty, and loved that the tree outside the front door had a giant red heart on it. Once we opened the ornately carved wooden door, we stepped into the soft green grass in the private courtyard, admired the large canopy tree in its center, and smiled at the warmth emanating from the cozy seating area in the corner. Then we walked over the stone steps, entered the mudroom, and approached the front door. Behind that door was the hallway that connected the owner's residence on the left to a stairway on the right that led us up to a decorative window which allowed bright light to enter the small space from the courtyard and park outside. We then continued up to the second floor and reached the entrance to our second floor Airbnb. We have finally arrived, and after putting our luggage down, we did a walkthrough of the home, passing the living room, entering the sleeping room, admiring the views from one window, and then taking in all the beautiful views from the large bay window next to one of the beds, before continuing our walkthrough of the unit. And Lily's coming out of the bathroom. Hey, Lil. So let me walk you into this amazing bathroom. And I say amazing, it's not super luxurious, but it has a lot of character. It has this beautiful door that reminds you of Tuscany with the sunflowers. And being someone who studied abroad in Italy, I really liked that. Then you have these beautiful tiled niches in the bathroom. And even the tiled ceiling I thought was really interesting. Huge sunlight right there, sunlight window. And the shower was nice. Water pressure was good. So that's the bathroom. Back into the living room, and I'm gonna show you upstairs now. This flight of stairs leads to the second floor bedroom. And once you get to the top of the stairway, you get to see the rest of the apartment. The bay window and seating area on the left, the double bed that Tanya and I shared, a warm, welcoming, and comfortable living room, the full kitchen and sliding glass door that leads to the balcony. And now let me show you the second floor. First, there is an underutilized nook that made me wish there was floor seating and large pillows for lounging with a good book. A large frosted window adjacent to a skylight window. A desk perfect for work, writing postcards, or doing your makeup. Another frosted window with natural light from the roof, and 2 twin beds in the farthest corners. Now that you've seen the entire second floor, and another quick view of the first floor from the stairway, let me head downstairs and show you the neighborhood through the eyes of Taylor's drone. We are now outside the Airbnb at Highland Park in Roxbury's Fort Hill community, and Taylor is capturing a bird's eye view with her drone. During the Revolutionary War, colonial troops were positioned in various high spots around Boston in order to keep an eye out for the British Army. Henry Knox, Josiah Waters, and the colonial army assembled a fort on this hill in 1775. In 1895, Frederick Law Olmsted was commissioned to renovate the site. Highland Park marks the highest point in Roxbury. From here, you can clearly see the Back Bay neighborhood to the north and the Fenway and Jamaica Plain neighborhoods in the west. After admiring these bird's eye views, we headed over to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Don't be fooled by its simple exterior and entryways, because a gorgeous Venetian courtyard awaits you behind its cold, unassuming walls. Throughout the year, the museum's always blooming courtyard is transformed through a series of 9 dramatic seasonal displays that reflect the owner's passion for gardens, as well as the skills and dedication of the museum horticulture staff. From orchids to Japanese-style chrysanthemums, there's always something new to discover thanks to the changing seasons and the rotation of plants. Most of the plants for the courtyard are grown in the museum's temperature-controlled greenhouses and trucked to the palace location, where they are rotated in to keep the displays in peak condition. The building is one of many examples of Venetian Gothic revival architecture, which became popular in the United States in the second half of the 19th century. Venetian Gothic is an architectural style combining use of the Gothic arch with Byzantine and Moorish influences. The style originated in 14th century Venice with the confluence of Byzantine styles from Constantinople, Moorish influences from Al-Andalus, and early Gothic forms from mainland Italy. I personally admired the architectural inclusion of both Christian and Islamic design details. After admiring the courtyard from the second and third floors, I walked past these beautiful and unique potted plants before making my way to the Titian exhibit. The Italian Renaissance painter Titian has a very special place in my heart because I majored in art history in college, studied abroad in Florence, and wrote my undergrad thesis on Titian's Venus of Urbino. This special exhibition, Women, Myth, and Power, celebrates Titian's 6 poetries, which envision epic stories from classical antiquity. Titian reimagined these familiar tales and used his modern style of painting to shape the future of Western art. Once the museum closed, we walked over to Titian for dinner, which is located in Boston's Fenway Kenmore neighborhood. Then we had a delectable and relaxing spa night in our PJs back at the Airbnb. And because we were also inspired by our visit to the Gardner Museum, we decided to indulge ourselves by watching the Netflix docuseries This is a Robbery, the world's biggest art heist, which chronicles the 1990 robbery of 13 works of art from the museum. Because there's nothing like watching an intense documentary with your sisters while trying to keep your skin feeling young and looking smooth by hydrating it with an easy-to-use face mask. On Saturday morning, I woke up to see the park's horizon painted a warm orange and watched the sunrise from the eastern-facing sliding glass door of our balcony. Then my baby sister, Lili, began preparing breakfast while I sipped my morning coffee. Then we all got ready for the day, which for me included my older sister curling my hair, which is a birthday gift in and of itself from her to me, because when I curl my own hair, it comes out looking crinkly and asymmetrical. This is one of the many blessings of being a little sister. And before we headed out for our Saturday adventures, we wanted to take a sister's portrait. Taylor made a grand entrance, which made us all laugh, and after about 12 shots, we finally got a good one. Our day began at the Islamic Society of Boston. As one of the most diverse Islamic centers in the United States, it's only fitting that the Islamic Society of Boston stands tall in one of Boston's most historic neighborhoods, Roxbury. The Islamic Society of Boston is not just New England's largest mosque, but it's also a shared dream that is representative of Boston's multicultural footprint. Next up, the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, which is free to all Bank of America card holders. Yes, I said free. Upon entry, my sisters and I enjoyed tableside service in the museum's soaring glass-enclosed courtyard. This cafe boasts a menu that features creative regional dishes that are prepared with fresh, local ingredients. After lunch, we got a closer look at the courtyard's large sculptures. This one is called Your Dog by Japanese artist Yoshitomo Nara. Then we admired the lime green icicle tower by American glass artist Dale Chihuly before visiting our first museum department for the day, the Art of Europe. The Art of Europe department encompasses the museum's rich holdings of European paintings, sculpture, and decorative arts. These include more than 21,000 artworks from the Middle Ages through the mid-20th century. As I walked the halls of European art, I kept noticing the beautiful pairings of man and his best friend, the dog. As a dog lover, I particularly enjoyed those pieces. Another pairing that caught my eye was Frederick Leighton's portrait of the painter's honeymoon. In this romantic image, love is equated with art. I particularly like how the two are expressing their love for each other and the art, embracing each other so tenderly as the male figure paints, and the female figure is equally engrossed in his creative process. My favorite part of the European art collection was the Monet, Rodin, and Boston exhibit. From the moment I stepped into the room, I was awestruck by the impact that the dark walls and focus light had on each of Monet's paintings. The overall setup presented Monet in an entirely different environment, impacting how I absorbed all of his work, especially in comparison to how his exquisite water lilies painting is presented at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. This gallery juxtaposes works by Monet and Rodin to reveal their resonances. Monet's loose brushwork and individual strokes of color create a sense of atmosphere, light, reflection, and movement. For Rodin, nature revealed itself in the human figure, and his finished sculptures often reveal evidence of his hand. For me, the Monet and Rodin exhibit was another valuable example of a beautiful pairing and another example of love. We exited the dark walls of the exhibit and immediately entered a hallway spilling over with natural light from the museum's courtyard. We then passed the museum's main entrance and adjoining staircase, which staff had just finished decorating in preparation for a large wedding that night. Can you imagine exchanging your vows with your husband or wife in such a beautiful space? Wow. Many blessings to the couple. Our last stop before the museum closed was to the museum's Arts of Islamic Cultures gallery, which was of particular interest to me since I had the honor of embracing Islam in 2016. This stunning piece is a plate with rippled edge created by Iraqi-American artist Wasma Chorbachi. The plate is impressed with the words of the Shahada. Its English translation is, "There is no deity but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God." And this ceramic plate is made by the same artist. The black, dark royal blue, and gold luster decoration spells out the Arabic word Bismillah, meaning in the name of God. We see here zigzagging bands of Arabic calligraphy, which make up the pattern on this fragment of a textile made in the Ottoman Empire. The widest band bears the words of the Shahada, a statement Muslims make to declare their dedication to Islam. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. These important words also appear on the tombstone here. This image of a gathering in a garden carries a mystical meaning. Grabbing the hem of a beloved's robe expresses a mystic's determination to endure the agony of longing, a necessary step for union with God. As the poet Jami wrote, "Grab the hem of that one who, because of his grace, has abandoned the lower world and its dwellers." I exited the Museum of Fine Arts feeling connected and inspired. And while we awaited our Uber, we enjoyed watching the Canadian geese explore the museum's front lawn. Hey guys, from the Boston, I almost said Baltimore, the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, which is behind us. Beautiful, beautiful place.
Celebrating baby sister's birthday.
Yep. Next up, the Arnold Arboretum of Harvard University, which is a museum of trees teaching the world about plants. This 281-acre preserve in the heart of Boston stewards one of the world's most comprehensive and best documented collections of temperate, woody plants, with particular focus on the floras of Eastern North America and Eastern Asia. And here at the Arboretum, you can see all of the amazing colors, the yellows, the greens. It's absolutely stunning. Free and open every day, this jewel in the Emerald Necklace Park system was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and engages the public through educational opportunities and programs for all ages. Dusk was upon us, so my older sister located this bench in the distance to sit and keep watch as I completed my evening prayer in this beautiful spot. Interestingly, every moment that I was in sujood, I inhaled fragrant whiffs of the grass, which pleasantly smelled like jasmine tea. We then met up with my lifelong mentor, Monique, for a low-key dinner in Cambridge at the Plough and Stars, which had a warm and cozy atmosphere and offered delicious food for our wide variety of palates. Then we made our way to Smith and Walensky for tea and dessert. My little sisters went for the infamous gigantic chocolate cake, which is a moist chocolate 5-layer cake brushed with Bailey's Irish cream, chocolate mousse, and covered with dark chocolate ganache. I kept it simple and went for the warm skillet chocolate chip cookie topped with vanilla ice cream. I felt beyond blessed to close the night, making my birthday wish surrounded by my 3 sisters and my lifelong mentor, Monique. My birthday began just after 6 a.m., and the view of the morning sky from my bed as I opened my eyes was glorious. Sunrise began just after 6:30, and my older sister and I took a walk outside to absorb dawn's majesty. A light frost covered the grass of Highland Park, and the historically preserved water tower glistened from the rising sun's light. My older sister Tanya had an early flight to catch, so I walked her down to her Uber and waved goodbye. Then I went back up to our Airbnb, sat next to the bay window, and sipped my coffee. On the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a small brown bird sitting atop the electrical wire adjacent to the window. My best friend and dog Sebastian passed away earlier this year, and since then he's visited me in my dreams as a little brown bird. So I smiled and thought of him as I peered out this window, watching this little brown bird and missing my little Sebastian, grateful for every moment that I was able to be with him. Today is my birthday, and it is a little after 9 o'clock in the morning, and I realized that in this Airbnb, the best place to sit for breakfast is at this dining room table with the sun on my back, especially in the winter because it's freezing right now in the apartment, but having the sun on my back is just, it's like a perfect middle ground. But as I eat breakfast and look at the beautiful view outside with the weeping willow and the sun rising behind me, it's a really special day, and I look forward to the rest of the day with my sisters in downtown Boston. When my 2 little sisters woke up, we got ready, checked out of our Airbnb, and headed over to Flower Bakery and Café, which specializes in breakfast pastries, breads, cakes, cookies, and tarts, as well as sandwiches, soups, and salads. The owner, Chef Joanne Chang, has a fascinating story. She is an honors graduate of Harvard College with a degree in applied mathematics and economics, but left a career as a management consultant to enter the world of professional cooking. I ordered the house-made hummus sandwich with pickled daikon, cucumber, vegan sriracha aioli, and cilantro on focaccia with a house-made raspberry seltzer, which were both delicious.
All right, that fell in there. It's kind of like similar to what you're wearing.
Yeah? Well, it's nice.
Oh, you left the...
Oh, sorry. I thought you would take it off. I told her it was a gift.
It's okay, I won't look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to rip it off.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a lot like what I want.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I do like that it's long. Thank you, Will.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you.
It like bunches up like that around your neck.
Well, I look forward to wearing it. Should I read the card now or later?
You can just look at the card. You can read it later.
Oh wait, this isn't the one I saw. Have a flippin' awesome birthday. Thanks, Taylor. Oh, it's from both of you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll read this when I get home. Taylor, your face is great. Oh, it's a necklace.
Yeah. We got us 2 necklaces.
Oh, how beautiful.
I thought it reminded me of North Carolina. And I know that's a happy place of yours.
Yeah. Well, any mountain place, right, with the sun setting. Oh, this is beautiful. Or it could be the moon rising. Thank you, Taylor. You're making a face, aren't you? After breakfast and opening my presents, we walked over to Copley Square, which is one of Boston's most architecturally significant and instantly recognizable public locations. This urban square is home to Trinity Church, the Boston Public Library, and the Hancock Tower. The square defines the city as well as the evolution of American architecture and urban design. From colony toward the sophistication of global European squares, moving creatively from Beaux-Arts to international style and modernism. Next up, a walk through the Boston Public Garden. Dating back to 1839, the Boston Public Garden is the first public botanical garden in the United States. While it is adjacent to Boston Commons, the style of the Boston Public Garden is much more decorative. The garden, surrounded by a Victorian cast iron fence, features meandering paths decorated by statues, fountains, various trees and plants, and a 6-acre pond with swan boats for visitors to ride. The Boston Public Garden has changed little since the mid-19th century and offers visitors a retreat from the urban environment of the city today. From the Public Garden, we then walk to Boston Common. Established in 1634, Boston Common is America's oldest public park. From colonial times to the present day, the Common has been at the center stage of American history. It has witnessed executions, sermons, protests, and celebrations. And it has hosted famous visitors from Generals Washington and Lafayette to Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and Pope Paul II. Yet for all its adaptation to modern life, the Common remains a green retreat remindful of its storied past. And before we knew it, we were dropping off our baby sister at the train back to her college, and Taylor and I were a duo once more. For the final few hours of our trip, Taylor and I walked Boston's beautiful financial district. The financial district is downtown's business nerve center, crowded with stately banks, high-rise offices, and sleek condos. Then we headed over to our final destination in Boston before making our way to the airport to catch our flight, Abigail's Tearoom and Terrace at the Boston Tea Party Museum. Perhaps the most quintessential Boston attraction, Abigail's Tearoom provides a chance to actually sample the types of tea that were so defiantly tossed overboard in 1773. No taxation without representation, remember? Here, one bottomless cup for tasting 5 types of tea, 2 green and 3 black, costs only about $4 a person. It was a perfect and super affordable way to end our Boston trip. While on a city bus heading to the airport, we witnessed an unexpected surprise, seeing the city's skyline transform at sunset. It changed from a mixture of Carolina blues and pale pinks to a saturated palette of fuchsia and orange, and then to a deep, fiery red and cool blue. Bye-bye, beautiful Boston.